tell you why your circle matters, okay? The Bible tells us over and over again that bad company could corrupt good manners. It tells us over and over again that we should be around people who are like-minded, so that way they can encourage us towards good works, right? We're called to come together as a believer in order to encourage us towards the goal of becoming more like Christ. Let's skip back, right, to Numbers chapter 20. In Numbers chapter 20, Moses is dealing with the Israelites grumbling, complaining for water. They're thirsty. There's nothing around them. They're saying how it was better in Egypt. They're going through all this rigmarole, right? And so Moses and Aaron, they go and they throw themselves before God at the tent of meeting. And God answers them and tells them, gives them direction to just go and get water from the rock. And as many of you might have heard in this story, you know, Moses goes and he bangs on the rock, and because of his anger towards the Israelites, he's no longer allowed to go into the promised land. However, if you actually go into the scriptures and read that story, his anger was not the reason for him to not be permitted into the promised land. It was actually due to him and Aaron's lack of faith. They believed in their own ability rather than trusting in the Lord's ability to draw the water from the rock. So instead of just speaking to the rock as God commanded them to do, they bash it with their staffs. And both Moses and Aaron, both of them, are both given that same wording from the Lord that they no longer will be allowed to come into the promised land because of their lack of faith. So when we're reading this story, oftentimes we look at it as just Moses by himself was not given that ability to go into the promised land. However, it was not just Moses. It was Moses and his brother as well, because the company you keep is either going to encourage you and grow you in your faith, or they're going to pull you away from that. Both Moses and Aaron heard the same words from the Lord. The Lord directed them both in the same thing. But because they both had a lack of faith and they were walking together in that, neither one of them were able to enter into the promised land. Not because of anger, but because of their lack of faith. The Bible tells us that without faith, it's impossible to please God. You know, we can make mistakes in our walk with God, and God will forgive us. He'll work with us. But what God can't work with is a lack of faith, because if you don't trust him, there's no room there for him to move. Our faith is so essential and so powerful, and the people you surround yourself with are either going to help build up that faith, or they're going to tear it down. So I say all this to say, consider who you spend the most time with. Consider who you keep company with. And ask yourself, ask God, if you do not have people around you that are going to literally tear open a roof to get you to Jesus, ask God to open up doors for you to have closer fellowship with people who will. And if you do have those people, cherish them. Cherish them. Encourage each other in your faith. Grow each other in your faith. I am so absolutely amazed by God and the amazing people that he's put around me that can help encourage me and grow in my walk with God. And surprisingly, he's always adding to that number. So if you don't have friends right now, ask God to give you some. He will. He wants you to have fellowship. He wants you to be surrounded by people who are like-minded, who are able to encourage you towards good works. So God bless you. I hope that helps, and I'll talk to you soon.